Donald Trump just claimed he pulled in $18 trillion. And that single sentence tells you everything about how he lies with numbers. Watch closely.
In 4 years of Biden, they secured less than $1 trillion of new investment in the United States. So 4 years, less than $1 trillion. In less than 1 year, I have secured commitments for over $18 trillion from all over the world, the most ever for any country. Think of that, though. They did, and I'll tell you what, had she won, it would be a disaster because you were having people leave. You would have not had 1 trillion, you would have had 5 trillion, 10 trillion leaving the country, and your welfare would have doubled.
Let's slow this down, because this is one of those lines that sounds impressive until you actually think about it. Trump says Biden secured less than $1 trillion in investment, and he personally secured over $18 trillion in under a year. That number alone should set off alarms. $18 trillion is nearly the size of the entire U.S. economy. These aren't verified investments. They're vague commitments, which can mean press releases, intentions, or deals that never happen. There's no public accounting, no independent confirmation, and no breakdown of where this money supposedly comes from. Meanwhile, under Biden, actual enacted investments, semiconductor plants, infrastructure projects, manufacturing, are documented, funded, and already being built. This isn't about results. It's about inflating numbers until they sound historic. Big claims don't equal real outcomes. After that, this might be the most misleading statistic in the entire speech. And once you hear the context, it completely falls apart. Watch this.
But we'll talk about that. Under Biden, we had the highest trade deficit ever recorded, losing more than $1 trillion every single year. How about that? It was killing Michigan, and everywhere else in our country was being absolutely destroyed. But in a matter of months, largely because of tariff income and the election result, we've slashed that gaping trade deficit by, in a short period of time, 62, it just came out, 62%. People are stunned. The fake news back there, look at those cameras rocking and rolling. No, the fake news back there is, they're very upset about it, actually, but they're stunned. They can't believe it. We cut our trade deficit in actually 10 months was when the number came out. We cut it by 62%. It's going to go better than that now.
This is where rhetoric completely replaces reality. Trump claims the U.S. trade deficit was cut by 62% in just 10 months, thanks to tariffs and the election result. That sounds like an economic miracle, except it's not how trade deficits work, and it's not what actually happened. First, trade deficits fluctuate naturally based on global demand, energy prices, supply chains, and consumer spending. A short-term dip doesn't mean a structural fix. In fact, trade deficits often shrink during periods of slowing economic activity, when Americans buy less, not because policy suddenly worked. So a temporary reduction isn't a victory. It can be a warning sign. Second, tariffs don't magically get paid by foreign countries, no matter how many times he says it. Tariffs are taxes on imports, and American companies pay them at the border. Those costs then get passed down to consumers through higher prices. This has been confirmed repeatedly by economists, trade groups, and even Trump's own administration reports during his first term. Pretending otherwise doesn't change the math. Third, the idea that tariffs cut inflation and reduce the budget deficit is especially misleading. Tariffs generally increase costs, disrupt supply chains, and provoke retaliation. During Trump's previous trade wars, American farmers required tens of billions of dollars in government bailouts because foreign markets closed off in response. That's not fiscal responsibility, that's damage control. Also notice what's missing: context. He doesn't mention that the U.S. trade deficit reached record levels during his presidency as well. He doesn't mention that trade deficits increased sharply after his tariffs were imposed. And he certainly doesn't explain why. If tariffs were such an overwhelming success, the deficit never permanently disappeared. This is classic misdirection. Take a short-term number, remove all context, declare victory, and attack the media for questioning it. The problem isn't fake news cameras rocking. The problem is that the claim doesn't hold up when you look beyond the applause line. If economic policy actually worked the way this speech describes, we'd see consistent manufacturing booms, lower consumer prices, and stable trade balances over time. Instead, what we got were higher costs, retaliation, and uncertainty, all while being told to ignore reality and just trust the slogan. Big numbers don't equal good policy, and repeating something confidently doesn't make it true.